previously, before we were on ADP, we had an in-house payroll system. And so you would go through and IT would do reports after payroll completed, and they would disseminate the reports to top managers, which would then flow down to the region, district, area, store managers. So by the time it got to the store managers, we were almost in like a whole different season in the convenience store. So they really couldn't do a whole lot about what their overtime was. So since we went with Vantage, they actually have the analytics right there on their dashboard that they can see where they are for overtime, like right now. So between having the analytics there at their fingertips and then having the company kind of do the mass communication that we need to do something about overtime, those two together, we were able to decrease overtime by millions. Yeah, so that's our latest initiative that we're working on. As you can imagine, in retail, turnover is high everywhere, and with the fight for talent, we're really trying to keep the employees that we have. One of the most expensive things about in the employee process is the hiring and the offboarding. So we're using the analytics that are on the dashboard to kind of have the turnover right there in front of the managers so they can see where they are. And then also using it at the upper level of management too, to see where our trouble areas might be. Do we need to send in more training, kind of uncover the reasons why there might be turnover in specific areas? We've just started with rolling out. And I think right now the biggest thing that we've been doing is trying to just educate on what do the numbers mean and where do we want to be. I think it's one of those things that you don't even realize is probably AI from the user perspective. So when they pull up their dashboard at the top of the screen, they'll get just little comments about, hey, did you know that your absentee level was high in August for this store? Or did you know the turnover was greatest here? So it just kind of gives them those little nudges that once they click on it, they can go to those analytics. And then in the background, it's learning what are they clicking on, what are they kind of bypassing, and you'll give them more statistics on what they're interested in. We use ADP Vantage, and then their payroll, compensation, succession, and then also we're going to be going live with their performance management tool probably at the end of this calendar year. We're using our HR analytics and exporting it to our BI tool that we have, and our BI team is actually using it to help kind of uncover some of those questions that we have. We have a lot of stores that are 24-hour, so the BI team's kind of taking the hours worked and how much we're paying and combining that with the sales for those stores to see if it really is worth being open 24 hours. I think the biggest challenge has probably been just educating the field. So like I said, we've got 2,200 store managers and just trying to get the information to them and what they're supposed to do with all this data. And then we have to realize too that they're not sitting behind a desk just waiting for stuff to pop up on their computer. Their main job is to run a store. So we need to provide clear and precise data for them to look at when they do have a couple minutes to sit at the desk. I think that's a good thing too, is tackle the easy stuff first. If you have a feeling, you're gonna know you've got overtime. So use the analytics to find out where it's at and why. Once you figure out who's doing it, then you can go in and figure out why. I think my advice would be to be patient with it. It's a lot to kind of take in from an employee perspective or manager perspective, and to be there to help support them. The analytics are there for their help, not to show what they're doing wrong, but just to provide areas where we can improve.